10 o'clock, right on the nose. We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everybody for attending City Council this evening. We will observe our traditional moment of silent reflection followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we've got a few guests that wish to address the council this evening. First up, we've got members of our Colonial Arts Center board, namely Ann Wilson, who is the manager, Keith Buckhannon, board member, and we also have KB Sane here as well. So, anybody who wants to come to the podium, how about it?
Who goes first?
I can begin with my...
I think that would be appropriate.
Do you have a way to put it on one of the TVs or no?
Well, yes. Can you email it to me?
I emailed you the link.
When? Today?
Today or yesterday? I know I emailed it to you.
You did.
Oh boy.
Not good.
This will be tricky.
Okay, let's
It's okay if we can't. I mean, it's in your packet, but...
If it's okay with you then, while we're pulling that up, could we go ahead and move to Jody, who would like to speak to us about the barbecue bash? Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, of
Okay.
course. Whatever is easier.
Cool.
There you go.
Thank you.
She's ready.
Hello,
I really
Jody.
wasn't. Hello. I really wasn't going to speak, but then we had some good news in the last few days. You've heard us talk about the art car project that we're doing in conjunction with the barbecue. We just finally, after 2 months of looking and searching for an art car, we have a vehicle. We are going to be presenting that the week after Thanksgiving to the Votech Center. So we're excited about that. So the kids, according to Rebecca Call, are very excited about starting design and creating an art car. We also are pleased that we are collecting bicycles. So if anyone out there, here or out there, has an extra bicycle, I have 8 or 10 or 12 maybe now that we've collected, but they're going to go to the older elementary school kids, middle school, high school, and they'll make art bikes. And then Walmart, unsolicited, I was talking to her about the project. They are going to donate all the cardboard for the cardboard boxes and some decorating supplies for the little kids to make art car boxes. And so they'll actually take the boxes, cut out the holes and all that. So we'll have a press conference probably a week after Thanksgiving with the Votech Center and kind of introduce the kids, and you know, we'll kind of see the before of the art car in there. So they're really excited.
Cool.
So we're excited. We appreciate the city support, and you know, we'll keep you abreast of what's going on as we get there. And I did get confirmation today, well actually yesterday, Baby Yoda Head, the car, is coming from Houston. So that's a really exciting. Big ears, like way wide, and yeah. And I'm working on one that looks like a giant peacock and has a huge, the head on the front, and she actually has made the, not wings, what would they be?
Feathers.
Tail. Feathers, yeah. They actually lay down, but when she goes through the parade, it actually fans out. So it's like a real peacock. So it's going to be something really different. We're excited. Thank y'all.
What's the day of that again?
June 16th and 17th of next year. We're excited.
Thanks, Jody.
Thank you.
Perfect timing. We've got the presentation right up, so good time management. So,
Well, hello to all of you. I am here to talk to you a little bit about all of the seating options that we've been exploring for the Colonial Arts Center, both the balcony theater and also our main stage hall. So, Randy, if you would please click to the next slide.
Oh, now I gotta be real techy. How's that?
So I will start upstairs in the balcony theater because we pretty much already know what type of seating we want to have up there. So there's really one option. We know that we can fit 80 seats up there, and we know that we want them to be fixed seating. We don't really need them to move or anything like that because it's a small stage. There's really only one way to configure the seats. So the price that we're looking at for the balcony theater is between $24,000 to $32,000. This breaks down to $300 to $400 per seat. Next slide, please. This is a closer look at what that will look like. So this picture that you're looking at on the left, that is a diagram of the stage and the seating. The stage is at the bottom. So the seating is a combination of 20, 21, and 22-inch chairs. The majority are 21-inch, but in order to maximize the most number of seats, along with like abiding by the fire marshal parameters of the aisles on the sides, those are why there's like 7 seats on the bottom that are 20-inch, and then there's 9 seats spread throughout the other rows that are 22-inch. So everybody should be able to find a place that's comfortable. Obviously these seats won't be different prices or anything like that. It'll all just be general admission.
And how many total seats did you say?
There will be 80 upstairs in the balcony theater. And they will be numbered and lettered, obviously. The material of them is a vinyl, leather-looking material, so it'll be really easy to clean, not like a cloth fabric. And there is an ADA compliant seat included with that, of course, as we need. Next slide, please. So I want to talk to you a little bit about telescopic seating. Telescopic seating is seating that essentially is stored in a bank, and it would remain at the back of the main hall, and when it's needed, it can be operated by like 2 to 3 people to roll out and the seats pop up. So we have actually 6 different options to sort of look at and explore with this. And those 6 options come from 3 different types of seats. So we started looking at plastic bleachers. Obviously this is something that you see probably in a basketball court, but this option maximizes the number of seating with the telescopic. We can fit the most number of people with those seats, but they are the least comfortable and the smallest. They don't have cushions or fabric or anything like that on them. But as I said, they are the cheapest option. The middle option that you're looking at is a vinyl seat. These are more popular in classrooms, university style telescopic seating situations. They are vinyl material, they are cushioned, they do spring upward when they're not being sat in. And those are sort of like a middle option. They fit slightly less people than the bleachers do, but they are less expensive than the next option. So the next option we call vinyl plus seating, and this is really what you would see in most art centers, most theater spaces, and this is definitely the biggest seat option with the telescopic seating, which is why it seats the least number of people. So it seats between 92 to 122. And the range in those seating numbers depends on whether or not we would choose to do 1 center seating bank or 2 side seating banks. So that lower number, for example, the 112 on the plastic bleachers, that would be 1 center seating bank that's attached to the floor. Audience members would essentially walk in through that entrance, and they would go to the left or the right, and there would be side aisles in the main hall, and then people would come up the front to get to their seats. With the higher option of the seating number in each group, that is for 2 side seating banks. Those banks would attach to the back wall of the theater, which might actually help with some of those sound acoustic issues that we've been discussing after our past few shows. I think that could actually be beneficial if the 2 banks are attached to the wall for the sound. And with those 2 side seating banks, we could pull one out without the other if we ever wanted to. And you can also pull out a few rows. You don't have to pull out all of them. For example, if somebody wanted to have 30 people in there, we could slide out enough chairs for just 30. If you'll go to the next slide. This is a little bit of a breakdown of how they would look in action. So in that first picture, they're in the use position. Obviously, they spring upward when they're not being sat in, but then they fold backward and they just slide straight back into the wall. And this can be done with 2 to 3 people, which is the appeal and why we were exploring this option, because there are only 2 Colonial Art Center employees as of right now. And so with the help of obviously board members and volunteers, this would be a really simple seating setup. And as I said before, the options are either 1 center bank or 2 side seating banks. Next slide, please. We did also explore loose chair seating options for the main hall because we didn't want telescopic to be the only option. So if we wanted to do loose stackable seating, 130 20-inch chairs is between 22 to 23,000, and 130 22-inch chairs is 24 to 25,000. And we would need one of those chair dollies, of course, which is about $100 to $150. These seats would have to be stacked when they're not in use, of course. And as of right now, we don't really have storage outside of the main hall to move those seats to if they ever need to be moved out of the way. If you'll go to the next slide, please. I made a little pros and cons list just to kind of help everybody see why we are looking at telescopic, why we are looking at loose chairs, why we're looking at all of the different options, and why we're coming to you to figure out the next steps. The telescopic seating, of course, as you've seen in my presentation, does cost more, but we do feel that it will last longer in the long run. We feel, in my personal opinion, I feel like if we went with loose chairs, we would have to replace them within maybe 10 years. The telescopic seating, I would imagine, if well taken care of, could last 20 to 30 years, maybe if not longer. So, and it does have a longer warranty with the telescopic seating than the loose chairs do. And the telescopic seating, as I said, is movable. It just can't be reconfigured. So that would be really one of the main cons with it. Whereas with loose chair seating, I mean, you could put people in a circle if you wanted to. You could arrange them any way that you wanted to in that space. With the telescopic seating, it would be restricted to just rows. However, we've recognized in these past few months with the events that we've done, borrowing the event center's chairs, that it takes a lot of manpower to get them back and forth. We practically have to have the entire street department stop what they're doing and go get them and bring them and set up the risers and do all of those things. The telescopic seating includes risers that don't have to be set up and torn down. They just slide out. And so that's something we would have to look for risers if we went for the loose chair seating. And so then we would have to start factoring in prices on top of that loose chair price for risers. So after talking through all of this with the board, the CAC board has sort of sided with myself on the telescopic seating. We do feel like it's a better route to go, even though it is costly. And that's my presentation. Thank you. Any
Well,
questions,
thank
I'm
you.
happy to answer.
I would concur that, and I know some of the other members of council were at the presentation of Clue. I know Pam Bucklew worked the door a few times, a few of
Yes,
the productions,
yeah, she
but
was really helpful.
I was at each one of them. And the seating, while we managed with the seating, with the risers, and with the event center chairs, that was probably the one thing that, that folks were a little disappointed in, because they had to scoot around and they just had to move and try to get a good view of the stage and so forth. Normally when I've done productions in ballrooms using movable seats, I've always made sure I had a stage that was about 4 feet high, minimum 4 feet high, so the people in a floor seating configuration could see up, because you can't see at the same level. You can't be looking through heads and so forth to see a show in a production. So I'd hate to have productions in that theater with that seating, with the movable seating, and you only see from the waist up of your actors or your performers on that stage and so forth. So and just having that system, the telescopic system, where you, Jacob, one other person, could manage it in and out, I think would be a no-brainer. That would be definitely the way to go. So that's a few of my comments. And I like the Vital Plus scenario. That gives stability. That's the most reliable seating system in there. It gives folks my size room. Keith can sit beside me, and he's going to still be as comfortable, and we can get Dave Thomas in there, and be good. So that would be my preference.
If I could comment. I'm all for the telescopic seating. I think the only thing I'd like to consider would be to, instead of putting in a manual system, those wear and break down over time. If you get on cattywampus, you can have problems or out of alignment, and it's cumbersome. And I would recommend we explore the cost in a motorized system that extends and retracts the seating. I think we get better wear out of the unit, and there'll be a lot less frustration. That's my 2 cents, but I agree with you, Mr. Sanders.
Well, there you go, Mr. Reader. Thank you.
And do you have any idea what the warranty period is on the telescopics? And they probably vary depending upon which model you're choosing, right?
It does, and I would have to go back and look, but it's, I think, a minimum of a 15-year warranty, I'm pretty sure.
You might have Tom O'Neill check out the warranties. If you could get that from the manufacturers, that would be helpful.
I can send them to him, yeah.
Any other council comments or questions for Ann? Or any board members? Amby?
I'll just make a real quick comment. What the council would do, I think, if that's your preference, is that we would develop an RFP and seek the bids of these manufacturers, and then we would have all that information that you need for a decision.
Did those of you on the phone hear that? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry, Jack.
No.
Pam, what I had recommended, if council so wishes to go this route, is to let us develop an RFP that we would send out to a couple of vendors that we could reach out to and advertise this so we could get competitive bids. And then you would have all that information, more detailed information, such as warranties. And then we would also look at financing this. If we go with this much, we probably should look at maybe some financing.
Mm-hmm.
We still have a little bit left to do on the theater, and so that's my thoughts.
I concur.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea to me. And the RFP, could we get the quotes with and without motorized units?
Yes.
Absolutely. That's a good idea, Mr. Reader. Yes.
You want to take F1 up now?
Yeah, I think we should, and being that, I think we should follow Amby's suggestion and use F1 bullet point 1 to authorize for an RFP to be put out for the chairs.
So moved.
The motion, is there a second?
Okay.
Second by, who was that?
Rigger.
Rigger, okay.
Polly Rigger.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Like side opposed? Motion carries. Okay. There is a second point under the Colonial Arts Center presentation, and that is the gallery management and financial funding recommendations.
Sure.
Keith, do you want to take that?
We'll
Or
talk to some of the financial issues as it relates. Yeah, we're talking about spending money, but I think we ought to also talk about how we can raise money. And there has been a lot of support historically, and I would like to just back up just a few years. Since the inception when the city acquired the Colonial Arts Center, there were a number of very significant fundraising initiatives. One was grants that were initiated with Bryson, Arts 26201, and the city collaborating together, and I believe they raised something like $279,000 in grants total since the inception, which was matched by the city. So don't forget grants, and Ann is still researching other grants that may be out there. The second type of fundraising came through some major significant corporate donors. I know Dave McCauley and some other council folks solicited folks like First Energy, who gave us 3 different grants over that period of time up through 2021. In 2022, a couple of really big things happened. One was very exciting. St. Joseph's, WVU Medicine St. Joseph's Foundation came through with a 5-year commitment that basically funded the education studios downstairs. And of course, you'll be hearing about some naming opportunities later. And then in that same year, West Virginia Wesleyan College committed to 5 years of in-kind, which is not insignificant because it involves people and expertise and perhaps some loan of some equipment that we only want to use one time. That's pretty significant. Those are 5-year commitments. At the same time, we've had some other individuals and organizations. Very recently, the Colonial Arts Center board got together and pulled together, and they contributed. And then recently, a local couple, Lisa Kane and Steve Kane, they said it's okay if I mention their name, after a tour of the Colonial Arts Center, said, what do you need? And somebody mentioned curtains. They're not cheap, but they came through and to the penny funded the full cost of the curtains and the hardware. And they have been ordered, and of course there's a 12-week lead time, right? But those will be coming in, let's say, mid-February, just in time. Actually, we're thinking about a grand opening sometime in, March or so. So really, if you look forward, it's pretty exciting. That contribution just came through recently. That's the kind of thing that we're finding. The more people learn about what could happen and is happening in that space and what it could be with new programming, I think you're going to start seeing more people come out and say, I'm in. So, now that I mentioned that, I would like you guys to look at the handout that you have, which is the naming opportunities. Now, we want to raise, in our new campaign, which by the way is going to be called the Colonial Arts Challenge. We'd like to kick it off in January of 2023.
Hang on 1 second, we have to take a little pause. I think we're okay now.
I think they were just applauding the Colonial Arts Challenge and giving me the toot out from the train. There you go. It is pretty exciting. So we're going to kick it off in January, and we have a window between January and July of 2024. So it's kind of a short window, but it's going to create some urgency, because I think we can get there. And one of the fastest ways to get there is by going out and finding people who might say, I'd like to be one of the naming opportunity sponsors, as much as St. Joe's and other people have. So the reason you have a copy there, we have 5 members on our board, but there are also people here in City Council. You folks have careers, you know people going way back, and we'd like you to step back and think about, who might I know, who might you put us in touch with that might be interested in a multi-purpose arts facility, one of a kind, that could really light up the whole art scene in Buckhannon. So we have, for example, the main stage, $100,000. Can we find a naming opportunity? The balcony theater, $75,000. And again, we've already got a couple of naming opportunities, people in place. We have St. Joe's with the education suites. BCT has the lobby. It can happen. So we're just kind of prevailing on you folks to look at that and say, for us to reach our goal, it just takes more oars in the water. And if we can find some of those naming opportunities, we can get there.
Keith, you've done a great job on this. When you presented this to the board back, was it October meeting? I lose track. But I think these amounts are great. I think you've put definitely a lot of thought and work into categorizing what the values are of each of the spaces, and you set a very aggressive goal, but it's you need an aggressive goal to get the work done. So very, very nicely done.
And with your help, we can get there. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, Keith.
Do we need to adopt this?
Well, there was also the MIB gallery management. Amy,
Yeah.
did you want to, I don't know if that's we don't have a form that's been submitted requesting finance or support yet, do we?
We haven't received that outside funding. We haven't received that outside funding request from
Right.
262.
So, yeah, I don't think there's anything then, Mr. Mayor.
As far
No, I think the board has taken action on this. I don't think that we need to. So,
Right. Okay.
Any final thoughts, questions, comments for our friends from the board? Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for what you're doing.
Yeah.
I know that, of course, Councilman McCauley was at the very beginning on this, and Mayor Skinner has been so supportive. Pam Bucklew, C.J. Rollins, everyone, Dave Thomas, all of us. It's going to be a state-of-the-art facility celebrating the past and the present and the future. Seriously, it's when I was, I had nothing to do with Clue. I walked in, gave a welcome from the city, and got in a seat and watched it. It was the easiest gig I ever had, and it was just phenomenal to see the people in the intermissions, and folks just so happy to see that building come alive. So great work for everyone and all their efforts.
Nicely said. Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Before we move down to our department and board reports, Rhett, welcome. Rhett Dusenberry, who represents Congressman Alex Mooney. You did circle no, but is there anything you want to say to us?
Well, our usual message, welcome, and also Congressman's always ready to get a letter of support for any kind of grants, and also happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Everybody, and boy, I tell you, it's been a while since I've been to your meeting to catch up on the theater. This is outstanding, outstanding. But nothing less for Buckhannon. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Red.
thanks, sir.
All right. Up first, we have our Public Works Director, A1 Mr. Jerry Arnold. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you all?
Great. Fine. How are you, Jerry?
I'm doing well, thank you. Under the director report, I've been working with contractors on the Colonial Arts Center project. That seems to be the theme this evening, so I figured I'd just keep going. Also, the fire department and the sidewalk projects. We're utilizing the on-call contracting services. As you recall, the bid we put out, we're utilizing those contractors, and it seems to be working very well. After this Thanksgiving week, next week, or the week after next, we'll actually have 3 crews going back out and starting to pour or reinstall sidewalks. And again, you know, if the temperatures get really low, we don't want to pour in those low temperatures, but we do have blankets, so we will be pouring in some cooler temperatures this winter, throughout the winter. So the street crew continues to work on the sidewalk projects. They patched some street cuts, repaved the intersection at Railroad Avenue and Lumber Street from the new sewer line installation, winterizing the parks, and we will be, the ones who are unlucky enough to be here next week, will be installing the Christmas decor. Sewer department, the service lines have been installed on the Madison Street project, and we'll be completing the storm sewer hopefully week after next. Completed a sewer repair on Little Sand Run near Rouse Furniture, and all the plant tests were within limits. The maintenance crew's been assisting with the generator installations. Water department's been working on repairing some damaged hydrants they identified while they were doing their flushing. Under the waste department report, just wanted to report that the contractors started the site work for the relocation of some of our equipment there on the waste department site to accommodate the new fire training facility. So there's progress being made there as well. And Matt, I'm sure, will report, but Matt's obtained some estimates for fencing for the relocation of the impound lot from the old location out to the new. Under engineering, the FEMA generator hazard mitigation grant number 2, installation of the Wood and Ritchie Street lift station generator was completed and commissioned on Monday, November 14th. And grant number 1, the contractors completed the perimeter fence on that and are awaiting the generator. And under Gateway West Phase 2 construction, again, one of our projects, our sidewalk projects, we have gotten notice to proceed, and we will be recommencing on that project week after next. And that's all I have, unless there's questions for me.
Any questions or comments for Jerry relative to his report?
Jerry, has there been any more information about the jut out on the Foster building, and maybe you and Tom could get together and try to get that part resolved? I know you reported last time that you're going to be tearing down the old Capari garage soon, but...
Yes, we demoed, as you can see, we demoed, or had the contractor go ahead and demo the concrete there in front of the garage. And we'll be working probably in the next week or 2 at bringing that garage down. But no, there hasn't, and yes, we can talk to Tom.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Jerry.
you all.
Thanks, Jerry.
All right. Finance Director, Hamby.
Okay. We're going to give you your balances for your enterprise funds for the month of October. Waste Collection Board, money market and checking, $1,266,899, and they have a CD at $58,674, and a letter of credit for $64,000. I'll pause there just a minute. I do plan to They only have a reserve of $58,000, so I'm going to talk to the board about moving some of that into a reserve CD. So the trucks for this department cost over $100,000. The water department, money market and checking, $718,000, and working capital, $874,000. Sanitary, money market and checking, $782,000, and working capital, $457,000. The stormwater fund at $233,000. And then the only other things I have to report: sanitary department purchased a mini excavator. They paid for that for $71,000. And then the waste department has purchased a closed-top trailer. That'll be paid for this week, this month. And then we are regularly working on compiling information for our PSC reports and our financial statements for our enterprise fund. So we've been really busy communicating information back and forth with our accountant that we've engaged to do that. In your bills that's going to be approved, Jeremy Drennan, that's our accountant that we use, $3,500 for general fund financial statements. Scott Electric for Spring Street project conduit, $4,000. JF Allen Blacktop patching at the Lewis Upshur Pound and the Lewis Upshur County, they paid for this, $10,266. C.I. Thornburg Storm Gate 6-inch pipe for Madison Street project. $6,300. Ferguson Waterworks for materials for Madison Street. $3,600. Sign guys for street sign faces. $2,900. Summers Builders for prep work at the Madison Street project. $3,100. Argos USA for bulk cement. $2,400 to Benjamin Arisman, mowing for city lots up to October 23rd, and he's probably finished now.
Yes.
And that's so that'll be the end of that for this season. $11,000 to Jason Skidmore for demo of sidewalks at the PSC in South Florida Street. $4,100 past fire protection work on the sprinkler system at the theater, and then $39,000 to Roselle Enterprises labor at the theater. That's all I have.
Any questions or comments for Amby relative to the financial report? Hearing none. Thank you, Amby. Police Chief Matt Gregory. Up next.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, irons in the fire, as they say. We'll start out with some good news. We received word just last week that all 3 of our new officers will be admitted to the State Police Academy on January 16th.
Very good.
So I know there was a big question mark about that for a while, especially whether or not they'd be able to attend together. So we're very happy to report that they will in fact all go together. Their orientation field training will continue until that point, at which time they'll begin 16 weeks of academy training, and upon graduation should be just before Strawberry Festival. They'll come back for additional field training at that point. The police department has also recently taken possession of the use of force simulator that we had planned for this fiscal year. Preliminary training began within the last week or two, and training will continue in the weeks ahead. Very state-of-the-art device. I think it's a major addition to the department, especially in terms of our training initiatives for our officers. The Mountain Lakes Drug and Violent Crime Unit, which the Buckhannon Police Department has been a part of since 2018, has recently been absorbed into the Mountain Region Drug and Violent Crime Unit. So instead of 2 separate task forces operating within this region, it's now one big task force that we're a part of. So in addition to the counties that we had originally encompassed, to include Upshur, Lewis, Braxton, Gilmer, and Webster counties, the realigned task force now will include those plus Randolph, Barber, Tucker, and Pocahontas counties. I think this is well received amongst all the member agencies. First and foremost because, as it was stated with the original task force, and very much so with this one, this is a force multiplier. that enables each of our agencies to network, to work together, to pool our resources together and combat the issues that we all face in all of our communities with drugs and violent crimes. Conversation continues with this. This was voted upon by the respective task force boards within the last month, and the logistical phase of this realignment will continue in the weeks and months ahead. We were originally scheduled to attend an organizational meeting in Randolph County today, but that was rescheduled to the beginning of December. So as that comes together, I'll have more on that to report. Work continues on maintaining our CALEA accreditation. Our proof year now runs, now that we are accredited, runs from April to March. And generally this time of year, I begin the proofing process to allow enough time to pass from the beginning of the proof year for activity to accumulate, to have enough proofs to upload. So that will continue in the days and weeks ahead, at which time I'll take a pause throughout the winter as we enter into the new year and focus on our year-end reports and as well as the beginning of the year activities. At which point, as we close out the proof year, I'll pick the remaining work for CALEA up sometime in late February, early March, to have a full set of proofs for this proof year. Our web assessment, even though the proof year runs from April to March, the web assessments occur in summer. But in the interim, I do have to file, in addition to the proofs, I do have to file reports on the SEMRIDGE program with CALEA. As it stands right now, our accreditation assessment comprises over 2,000 uploads. So it is all-encompassing and very comprehensive. Canine Arrows recently achieved reaccreditation through the North American Police Work Dog Association. This particular accreditation is not only a CALEA requirement, but it also tests our canine team, both the handler as well as the canine itself, on all aspects of what he's trained on. And that covers everything from obedience, tracking, apprehension, and detection. So this is an annual accreditation that we undergo every November, and so he passed with high marks just last week. Work has finally begun on equipping our new cruisers. They were originally scheduled to begin installing the equipment last month. However, there was a slowdown on the availability of some of the emergency equipment that caused the delay. But we did deliver the first car today, and hopefully we're told that the turnaround time is about 4 or 5 days per car. So we're hoping to have the full fleet of the new cars turned out by the end of the year, and the old ones ready to turn back into enterprise. And then finally, work continues on preparations for WAMSP. The security group continues to meet at least every month, sometimes more often than that, depending on the items on our agenda. At this point, we do have a very good rough draft of an IAP, and waiting to branch out from that and begin to meet more with, beyond the security group, with our various public safety partners as well as city partners to start filling in the blanks of all the requirements that we've identified through the IEP. Our next meeting is scheduled for December, and we're looking at some software applications to help WAMSP itself manage the event, as well as integrate into our emergency plans as well. And Mayor, that's all I have, unless there's questions.
That's it?
I got carried away. I might follow up on what you just said, that software would be would be software that FBI would be bringing into the fold. We've been meeting with representatives of the FBI regional office and so forth, so they've been helpful in that capacity too. So,
good.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments for Chief Gregory?
Some questions about the new newly configured drug task force. What you used the word absorbed, and we might just be talking semantics. Is it really a merger of the two entities? Is that a better way of putting it? Absorbed to me sounds sort of pejorative, that we've been taken over by another entity, and it sounds like what the two boards have decided to all act together. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement. I think the word absorb comes from the fact that we will now be known as the Mountain Region Drug and Violent Crime Unit, just simply because as the parent agency, they voted to bring us on board.
Sure.
We were, as the city of Buckhannon, we were the
Mountain Lakes Drug and Violent Crime Task Force.
right. Drew a blank fiscal.
Yeah, we're the fiscal agent.
The fiscal agent for, we were the fiscal agent for the Mountain Lake Drug and Violent Crime Unit. However, because of the merger, Randolph County was the fiscal agent for the Mountain Region Drug and Violent Crime Unit. They will remain the fiscal agent for the entire task force, so we no longer hold that status. So I think that's maybe where my word came from, because we take on their name.
That was my next question. As a result of this new configuration, will the city's financial commitment remain the same, or is it too preliminary for that to,
The initial breakdown of the MOU is any seizure that's made, every member agency in a full-time status gets 5% of the seizures. As fiscal agent, you get an extra 3%, which we had for about a year now, right?
Probably 2 years now.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, over 2 months.
So we will no longer have that 3% since Randolph County is the fiscal agent. They'll keep that. We'll still have our 5% in asset forfeitures.
Is our contribution relative to undercover operations and things like that, will that remain the same as
Yes.
far as we know?
Yeah, our commitment is not changed, and as far as what we, our manpower, our equipment, because we commit a full-time officer plus our K-9 part-time as needed on an on-call basis. That has not changed.
Thanks, Chief.
How many counties are involved now, Matt?
I think that amounts to about 9 or 10 counties, if I'm thinking off the top of my head.
So it's about double.
Yes.
Basically just merged east and west.
And yes, it doubles the size of the area that we're dealing with. However, it also doubles the size of the forfeitures, as well as as the amount of resources that we have to draw on manpower and equipment and otherwise.
Any other questions or comments for Chief?
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt.
Tom O'Neill communicated to me that he does not have a report this evening, so we'll go down to correspondence and information. We have the report of the cat and dog activity for the Upshur County Commission for September and October 2022. We have FOIA requests from the Smart Procure. They do this every so often for employee contact information. Proclamations. We did the National Adoption Month proclamation, as well as the Great American Smokeout Tobacco Awareness and Education proclamation. We did both of those last week. FEMA Advisory Flood Height Study for Upshur County and the City of Buckhannon. And then we've got upcoming events. We've got the City of Buckhannon Fire Department Christmas Parade. That will be on December 2nd at 6 p.m. Lineup will be near Wendy's on Madison Street. We've got the West Virginia Dickens Christmas Festival and Fair in Buckhannon, and that is going to be downtown on December 3rd. That's the Saturday after the Christmas parade, beginning at 2 p.m. We've got the West Virginia Westland performance of A Christmas Carol at the Colonial Arts Center. That's also going to be on the 3rd. That's going to be at 2 p.m. as well as 8 p.m. We've got the Burma Santa Meets the Grinch. That is going to be the very next weekend. That's on Saturday, the 10th of December at 6 p.m. on North Kanawha Street. And then we've got the annual menorah lighting at Jawbone Park. That will be on December 18th, which I believe is a Sunday evening at 7 p.m. One quick thing that did not make this agenda, but watch for an agenda to be produced. We will be having a council meeting that will involve only an executive session on November 28th, Monday evening at 6 p.m. relative to property matters around our decision about 16 Factory Street, our former city street garage. So be watching for an agenda to be produced there. What will happen is the council will meet, we'll call the meeting to order, we'll go right into executive session, we'll come out, we'll adjourn. We have a council meeting that week as well on Thursday, at which if the council is ready to make a decision, we will put that on for strategic issues for discussion and or vote at that Thursday evening meeting on December the 1st. So be watching for that in your information. Under the consent agenda, we've got the approval of the minutes, regular meeting for 10/18, a special meeting 9/21, and meeting 10/21. Then we've also got the approval of the building and wiring permits and approval of the payment of our bills. I would entertain a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Like sign opposed. Motion carries. Okay. All right. We have one item left for strategic issue for discussion and or vote. I have for you all, I have the most up-to-date list. This has been quite up-to-date, yeah. Don't put that in. Up-to-date list. This has been quite the project because it has been communicated that that the time commitment for this, especially in the beginning, is going to be, it's going to be fairly significant. So, I want to read to you the City Buckhannon Parks and Recreation Board of Directors. We have a City Council seat, which we could decide who wants to do that this evening if you wish. Scott Lampinen, John Bowman, Alexis Ross Butcher, Brian Webb, Rob Kimball, and Debbie Shapiro. I also have mentioned as council members that I wanted to put two committees together underneath that board, one dealing specifically with facilities management and one dealing with programming, because there's been a lot of discussion about we want to try to make our parks year-round and have activities for folks that are relative to different weather conditions in our parks. So those two committees are as follows. Facility Management, Robert Osborne, Chip Allen, Lisa Tenney, Keely Burnside, and Will Squires. Programming, Beth Post, Rachel Ruffing, Jenna Faley, Levi Bender, and Graham Godwin. So the board has 7, which is set forth by ordinance. And then we have 2 committees of 5. That way we have there's an odd number of each. It would be my recommendation and desire for these to begin in early January, as well as I'd like for these groups to try in the beginning to meet together. I know it's a lot of people, but I'd like for everybody to know what everybody's doing, who belongs to what group, and kind of start to have the charges to go out, because these committees are going to help the board tremendously with the work that is being put out. There's a lot of what I've communicated to everybody is we need to audit the parks as they are. We need to look at what we have. When we need to then be critical on ourselves. What do we want to fix? What do we want to improve? What do we want to add or subtract from? And some parks we don't need to have elaborate recreation facilities. Some parks just need to have beauty. Like the Marion Street Park, I think it really serves the neighborhood well to just be a nice place for trees and flowers to grow and people to just walk through every once in a while, maybe go over and have lunch. Jawbone Park is kind of the same way. I don't think you're going to see jungle gyms in the middle of Jawbone Park, but the North Buckhannon Riverfront Park, the City Park, Wood Street Park, the River Trail, those areas have recreation equipment now, and some of them need quite the facelift. So that's what I would like to present to council as a slate of board members, and I would ask for your approval on the list that I just read to you.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
Question.
Yes.
Can you explain a little more these subcommittees that you're proposing would work for the board itself.
Correct.
The Stockard thing, we excluded programming from Stockard. In other words, this committee would oversee the programs, activities at all the parks except Stockard.
Correct, because, the Stockard board is going to be still responsible for the programming at Stockard Youth and Community Center. Yeah, this will be for our outdoor facilities.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
And this comes really from the town hall meeting we had, where we heard from the citizens who came, and programming was a very important part of it. And I agree with the mayor that to have a committee dedicated to go back and research all of the data that was collected, the comments that were given, the breakout groups did some very fine work. So that's a lot of help that the programming committee can have to get jump started on this on their efforts.
And everybody that is on here is very excited, which is good. I think this is going to end up being our most fun board because we're talking about the fun parts of our community and improving them. So I have communicated, just so we're all on the same page, to everyone that this is not going to be a sit around and talk kind of a board. We have work to do. And the city is prepared. It's going to be a good timing is going to work out very well as we go into the budget sessions. The city is prepared to financially invest into our parks to improve them. In other words, we want to make sure that the wishes and the recommendations are taken very seriously, and that we can financially accommodate the recommendations for improvement. So that's what I've communicated, and everybody's very supportive. So we have a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Like sign opposed. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all very much. We are down to council comments and announcements, and we will begin on the phone with Pamela Bucklew.
I'm glad we got the Parks and Rec board started finally, and I was glad to see that Ann brought the numbers in for seeing, which I would like to see a copy of that because I can't see anything. But also, I'm glad we're going to have an executive session on that property too, because I've been wondering about that also. But just wanted to tell everybody have a nice Thanksgiving and be careful out there.
You had a couple of things you discussed with me the other day, Pam. Did you want to cover those?
Yes, I did. I'm sorry. Glad you mentioned that. Yeah, I've been having some complaints about people leaving their trash cans out on the street.
The totes.
Like, for days at a time. It's haters and getting some complaints because there are people having those homes and they don't want those things sitting out there looking at them all day. So I know there's some cities nearby that give people 24 hours to get them removed and take them back into their property, or sometimes they get fined.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. Okay. Is it okay if we just stay on the phone and just...
She has one other thing.
Oh, sorry, Pam.
Yes, I can't remember where it was.
Oh, we talked about it. That was just a housekeeping deal up at the theater. It's getting taken care of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. CJ?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, sir. Same to you. Jack?
I don't have anything tonight, but happy Thanksgiving.
Okay. Mr. McCauley?
I don't want to make the good meeting a bummer, but I want to re-express my disappointment that after this council back in August approved a measure by a 5-2 vote to streamline, adopt an ordinance that would replace council members in the event of a vacancy, for that process to have kind of lingered for months and months now, and we still have not formally resolved it. I'd really like to formally resolve it. I ask that it be placed on the agenda. If folks have changed their minds about the ordinance, that's fine. But I think that we should have our minutes reflect that an ordinance that has been contrived and been out there for 2 or 3 months now, that we have chosen as a body to not adopt it. You know my position when I filed last January because of the dozens of folks that reached out that were disappointed with the handling of the previous filling of the vacancy by council. I made that one of the planks of my platform that I was successful in prevailing in the May election. I don't want to let it go. So I'd like us to, as a body, if it's going to go 4-3 the other way, so be it. But let's let the minutes reflect it. The only other thing I have, other than wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and I'm reminded by one of the correspondence items, we have a feral cat colony down at the river trail. And I'm curious, is it going to be the Parks and Rec Board that's going to handle this? Is it consolidated? Is it the Animal Care and Control Commission? Do we bring all of those bodies together and try to resolve it? And understand, I'm not anti-animal. I'm all about dogs and cats and monkeys and whatever animals you've got. That's great. But these feral cat colonies, there's just thousands of pieces of literature out there. They are a danger to the health of the community. They destroy the squirrel and rabbit and bird populations, everything along that river trail. I know that James Moore at the college has agreed to partner with the city to try to safely, kindly relocate these animals as we did before. But I'd like to put that on our radar screen as something that we would address in the coming weeks and months.
Animal Care and Control has discussed it. As you know, it is on college property. We have erected signage directing folks not to feed the feral animals. Unfortunately, unless we have a dedicated police officer down there all the time to catch folks who do it, they can be in there, put food out, and be gone in 2 minutes. I understand the concern. I get a lot of comments on both sides of the fence that the cats are perfectly fine there. That some people like them. I get comments saying, doesn't matter how or where, but please relocate the cats. So, but we will have an animal care and control meeting coming up at the first of the year. We can bring that back up for discussion at that board, and which is where the signage came out of back earlier this summer.
Sure. Happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you. All right. We got everybody on the phone. Mr. Thomas.
Yeah, just wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and a safe Thanksgiving. And just really excited about the Parks and Rec Board and also about the Colonial Theater. It's makes you feel real good. All be safe.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Sanders?
Yes, and I echo the excitement I have too about the Colonial Arts Center, about the Parks and Recreation Board. I haven't talked about Wamsby lately, but we've been meeting regularly. We're, as the Chief Gregory alluded to, the fact that been working on security meetings and so forth, but we've also been working on our plans. And we can report that we have commitments from bands from the following countries. These are bands that are committed to coming now. They're booking their flight, they're getting their visas and so forth. We have Angola, we have the Bahamas, we have 3 from Canada, we have 1 from Chile, 1 from Costa Rica, 1 from Czech Republic, 2 from El Salvador, 1 from Germany, 2 from Honduras, 1 from Ireland, 1 from Poland, 2 from Switzerland, 1 from Taiwan, and 1 from the US of A. Thus far. And this is, the USA is coming out of, well, I can't tell you the state. I thought I could, but I can't. But we're going to have other USA bands competing in the competition as well. As, of course, we'll have Marshall University competed. They've confirmed they'll be here and be part of the parades and the opening ceremonies. Several high schools in the area. Our committee is growing. I do want to encourage you to go to the Wamsby Facebook or Wamsby website and click on the volunteer section, because we are looking for several volunteers. And Sarah Campbell and Catherine Hager are working hard now to put together the volunteers. We'll be pushing that out a lot more, but we're going to need hundreds of volunteers really to pull this event off. So go there, sign up, and we'll be in touch to give you your possible assignments and so forth. So it's on our website, it's on our Facebook for Wamsby 2023. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Thank you, Randy. Mr. McCauley, I'll address your concern about the ordinance. Following the November 3rd council meeting, I received feedback from 2 council members who asked that we not consider drafting a vacancy ordinance, instead suggesting that we continue to with our city charter, which already provides the flexibility that we need to consider each individual vacancy situation as it becomes a reality. After receiving this feedback, I decided to contact the other members of council who hadn't either made their opinions known publicly or privately, and following that November 3rd meeting. And as a result, 5 members of council, and honestly, including myself, prefer that we take no action on this matter. When we did bring it up, I was one that did vote no to do it, but I wanted to hear from all of the council members that we take no action on this matter. And the council wishes, the majority of council wishes that we retain the maximum flexibility, thus drafting an ordinance restricting our authorities that are bestowed upon us by the charter would ultimately be considered redundant and unnecessary. So for the record, only you and Pam wanted the issue pushed, and so I made the call as the chair of council who sets the agenda out of respect and wishes for the majority of our council. I did not include the draft ordinance on discussion for agenda this week, but I'm happy to, if you'd like it in the minutes, I'm happy to file what I just read for the minutes with Randy under my remarks. So that's where it stands right now. I'm going by what was communicated to me, and out of respect for everyone, that's why the decision was made on my part. So I just wanted to throw out that point of clarification. With that, I want to thank everybody for, especially the Colonial Arts Center folks, for what they've done. I mean, we are so close to getting this project completed. I am every time I'm in there, we keep seeing more and more progress, and we are going to finally complete this project. And I'm glad you brought this project to us clear back in 2016. It's been a long road, but we're gonna complete it. More progress is being made on the Madison Street project. I know it looks like just a big old pile of dirt, but we are making progress. I promise you that. We're going to have this place shining next summer, because we've got so much going on in Buckhannon, and we're not going to let Jody down with the barbecue bash. And
Promise.
that's right. But I do want to share one thing. Everywhere we go, and I know I beat this drum a lot, but folks say how nice this town is. We really have a gem here, and there are folks that don't frequent Buckhannon too often. They only come through Buckhannon when they're heading up from the Charleston, Huntington, Beckley area, maybe if they're heading to Morgantown or vice versa. But when they come through here, they see what a breath of fresh air it is, and it's because of everybody that works hard here every day to make this community very, very special. And I want to thank everybody who agreed to be a part of the Parks and Recreation Board. We've talked in many circles about when folks look to move to a community, one of the major things they look at is what is there to do for their families, and we want to make sure that our parks are shining and welcoming for everyone who lives here that wants to enjoy whatever they want to enjoy. If it's just sitting down and having lunch, or if it's taking their kids to the park, we have those facilities for everyone. So I do want to express I am disappointed we did not pass the school levy. I think our community I think there was a lot of misinformation. out there. I know that our council took action on a resolution. I expressed my thoughts with my Buckhannon on election night, but I really hope that we as a community can come together by May of 2024 to pass our school levy so that there are no interrupted funds for our kids, because that is our most important resource, are the youth of this community. They're going to be leading this place just as I was a youth in this community. I grew up here. Katie grew up here. You know, Randy grew up here. We grew up here, and you know, I want to make sure that the next generation has a great footing and a great foundation to step in, because we're starting to talk about at this level succession plans. We have a lot of folks that are looking at retirement. Who's going to step into those roles? We cannot let the lights turn off with us. There has to be a Buckhannon for the not only for the present but for the future. So thank you all for indulging me. I hope everybody has a very happy Thanksgiving, and I hope to see everyone out at our events that we have coming up this December. And we're going to have a lot of fun around here. So at 8:05, I'd entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.